Travis Etienne is a full go, and the Jaguars need all hands on deck as they travel to Detroit. I'll tell you why this game's going to be so fun in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, good people? Welcome to another edition of Locked On Jaguars. I am Tony Wiggins, your host of the daily Locked On Jaguars podcast. We're at your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen. Reminding you that we are free on all platforms, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're listening to it right now. You do not have to pay. All you have to do is like, subscribe, and click on it, and sit back and go for a ride with me every single day, because that is what we do. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the games start. Where do I start? Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. Travis Etienne is a full go. Good. There's nothing wrong with him. But I had a conversation with a good buddy of mine, Sam, who runs another podcast for FSU, and we were talking about why when they sit him out, these games are meaningless. I'm going to tell you why these games are so important for all of these guys, including Travis Etienne, why it's so important for the development. You can't worry so much about their future that you forget that the things that they're going to learn over the next 6 weeks is going to be a part of their future. So when a guy's injured, he doesn't just miss time with his team and doesn't just miss time helping his team. When a guy's injured, he also misses the opportunity to improve and get better. So we'll see. We'll talk about some of the things that you learn from actually playing through injuries. We'll do that in segment 2. In segment 3, before I'm going to tell you, I don't want to bury the lead today. Segment 3, we're going to discuss why I think this game will be one of the most interesting games of the weekend and compelling and entertaining. I think that there's a lot there. I think both teams are in a similar spot. Some words have been sort of exchanged a little bit. We'll see how that plays out. But the lead is that Travis Etienne is healthy. He's going to be a full go come this week. They didn't need him much last week. Doesn't mean they don't need him. You know, fans will do that. Fans will go, well, look how we played without him. We don't need him. No, it's not true. You know, it's not true. In order for this team to advance and get far, they need all hands on deck. So here's the thing. The Titans have a tough game this week, right? They play the Eagles. A.J. Brown, I know y'all want A.J. Brown to go off in his revenge game like, oh, y'all trade me? Watch this. Well, if the Titans lose and the Jaguars win, the Jaguars are then 2 games behind the Titans with 2 games left to play against the Titans for the division. So this is why this game is extremely important, and this is another reason why it's so compelling. And I think it's going to be motivation for the Jaguars to go up there. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Jaguars are going to beat the hell out of Detroit, right? But I think it's going to be fun for a while, and then the Jags are going to enforce their will and pull away. That's just what I believe, because I think that there's a lot working in their favor mentally and psychologically where they are health-wise. I think they may have found themselves a little bit and gained some more confidence. Now, you can't get the big head. They have to keep their wits about themselves and go up. And remember, it's all about execution and doing things on time. But there's a key matchup here that we talked about a little bit on the crossover with Matt Derry from Locked On Lions, and that is that the pass defense for Detroit is something, it leaves a lot to be desired. The pass offense with Jacksonville as of late has been a strength, especially with Trevor Lawrence being smart and being intelligent and taking everything that's given. This is why having Travis Etienne is so important. Because if they try to do things, because the Jaguars weren't able to run the ball last week, so they try to mix and match a little bit and play more into coverage and take some of the short stuff away, that's where having a guy like Travis Etienne is going to help, because he's extremely explosive. And if he breaks through, if you're playing some little crap defense where you got a bunch of people on the line of scrimmage, remember Jermichael Hasty when he broke through in Indy for a 62-yard run, because Indy had everybody on the line of scrimmage. So if you line everyone up close to the line of scrimmage because you're afraid that the Jaguars are not going to necessarily beat you deep, but what they're going to do is throw the ball to all of their quote-unquote punt return capable wide receivers, and those guys are going to shake and bake and get 7-8 yards of play. Well, you get caught slipping up in that box, and they can give that ball and hand that ball off to Travis Etienne, and he pops one. Those plays, nothing a defensive coordinator hates more than giving up a big shot, a big play, because it's demoralizing, right? Second thing they hate most is giving up a whole bunch of little ones. So I hope the Jaguars put Detroit in a situation where they gotta choose their poison, pick your poison, and mix and match. So those are some of the things that we need to look forward to this weekend. I think the Jaguars are in a really, really good spot. And I think Doug Peterson is just going to outcoach Dan Campbell. It's just as simple as that. And it's what comes down to it. When you have the better coach and the better quarterback, that's about 2/3 of the way there, man. And all you got to do now is just go out and execute. And I think the Jaguars definitely have the best coach and they have the best quarterback playing in this game this weekend. Now, I want you to hang on to your hat because in segment 2, we're going to talk about some more guys that we'll talk about some more guys that have some impact on this game, but mainly Travis Etienne being healthy and a healthy discussion that I actually had with a good friend of mine that provided some content. No, Sam, I'm not going to give you no money, so don't worry about it. You don't get paid. That's what you get for calling me, having these conversations. You help me create content that allows me to give it to the Locked On Jaguars listeners. So hang tight. Don't go anywhere because I'm not going anywhere. Some things I want you to hear, some things I want you to know about. I'm going to tell you, man, Travis Etienne and this Jaguar team, it is very, very, very important, in my opinion, that they all play down the stretch and we don't try to save anyone. And I'll tell you why that's such a big deal in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Well, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Man, if you haven't started to play PrizePicks yet, I don't know what to tell you. You are absolutely missing out on a marvelous, marvelous daily fantasy game where you can use the entries and the player projections that are placed on these individuals by PrizePicks in any sport. And all you have to do is decide more or less. And I know y'all are experts because you get on me all the time on here telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. You can win up to 10 times your money and get paid. You don't get paid to tell me that I'm an idiot, but you can get paid if you can prove that PrizePicks are placing the wrong projections on their entries. And this is what you have to do. You have to download the PrizePicks app in your app store or go to prizepicks.com on your phone or your computer. Sign up. And when you sign up, the first time you sign up, here's what you're going to do. You are going to get an instant deposit match of up to $100. What do you love about the games and the format? Is it easy to play? Yeah, it's easy to play. Don't ask me silly questions. It's very, very easy to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on the player projections that are already designated. In any sport, if you get 2 or more, you can get up to 10 times your money. Play the flex option. So even if you miss 1 out of your 4 or 5, you can get a little something back. Download the PrizePicks app. Like I said, go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users, once again, will receive a $100 instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code. Here it is, Locked On. That is your promo code. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up, your initial sign up for an instant deposit match at prizepicks.com. All right, man. And don't forget to check in here with me every single day on Locked On Jaguars because it is your team every day. And we absolutely thank you for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars. Man, y'all the truth. That's all I got to tell you. Y'all are the truth. And it has been really, really, I notice when they win or when they play well, the interactions go up, right? And nobody wants to hear my voice of all voices when they don't win because you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it real. So I kept it real with one of my buddies. His name is Sam. And Sam and I have more heated conversations probably than 2 politicians on Congress, man. But he's my buddy, right? But he made a very, very compelling point. And sometimes when people make points, you just don't go, no, you're wrong. You go, I can understand why he asked that, so let me explain it. Sam's idea was that if Travis Etienne is even a little bit banged up. We need him so much for the future that we should just, unless we're really, really into the playoff hunt, don't play him, right? Just put him on the shelf for next year. Don't even risk it if he's a little banged up. Well, I went against Sam on that because my point is you give yourself a better chance of actually being in the playoff run. This week, if the Titans lose and you win it, you have to actually play him in order to have the best chance to try to make a run for the playoffs. That's one thing. But two, players are going to be hurt their entire career in the NFL. There's no way around it. You can't put a guy on the shelf forever. You just have to play. You can't. And I know, it was scary the other day when he went out and didn't come back in, and it was a foot injury. I don't even know if it was the same foot that he injured last year. And just because you have a foot injury doesn't mean it's a Liz Frank injury, because they said that the likelihood that he hurts that injury again is really, really very, very rare, especially with the way that he healed up. It could have just been a coincidence. It could have been the other foot. Somebody could have just stepped on his foot. He was on the sidelines laughing. He was like, yeah, man, I'm good. He could have came back in, but the Jaguars had it going, and they probably knew in their mind what their game plan was going to be down the stretch, was to open it up in the passing game a little bit, and there was no reason to risk it. And Doug Peterson has shown the propensity to want to at least get back and get guys checked out and get a full scope from the medical team. We've asked him several times about guys on Mondays, and he said, well, we need the medical advice, and we'll go with medical. They did it with James Robinson. They did it with a bunch of people. So that's going to be the MO for Doug Peterson moving forward, and we just kind of have to get used to that. But here's the other point that I thought about that made me really want to put this topic into the show today. It's not as if we're just going to say, okay, down the stretch, we're out of it, even if the Jaguars were mathematically eliminated. Just sit everybody, put bubble wrap on them, and wait until next year after we go through free agency and get another year in the draft, and the guys get in the weight room, and next year when we get a fresh start, let's make a fresh run at it. I understand the sentiment. However, I think if this were a veteran team and that's what you were saying, I would agree with it. First of all, guys got to earn their paychecks. Two, they actually want to play. Guys don't want to sit out. They only play 17 games a year. They want to play. Imagine you only doing something 17 times a year that you really want to do. They want to play, right? The other thing is, for a young team, and this is where it's relevant to Jacksonville, there's actually some things that those 6 games can actually teach them about themselves to give them, here's the word, you ready? Experience. You can't get experience with a baseball cap on. You can't get experience. I don't want Travis Etienne going into his 3rd season having only played 11 games. I don't want him to be a guy at the beginning of his 3rd season, you go, he's your best running back. He's only played 11 games in 2 years in the NFL. That's just not feasible for me. I want him to play through nagging injuries. I want him to learn how to prepare his body on the NFL level to play through nagging injuries. I want him to learn how to likely play with a little pain. I want him to learn how to prevent doing it. Lately, he appears to be running behind his pads more than running with his legs. He hasn't been taking those huge shots that it seems like he was taking early, because I think through experience he learned everything isn't going to be a home run. Everything isn't going to be a 70-yard run. You can't learn that stuff with bubble wrap on you, with everyone preparing for the future. You can be preparing for the future so much that you ruin your future because you get to the future and the guys don't have the experience that they need. I honestly believe that if this team plays well down the stretch, there will be some carryover. Now, it won't be in the win-loss column, and they'll have to retool it. You don't get to attach one season to the other. But there are things that you learn about yourself and about each other as a young team that you go into training camp when you start to retool things, when you have to retool things, when you know it's time for a fresh start. But you know what you're capable of, because here's my other phrase I always use: demonstrated performance. You have actually done it. You're not wishing. You're not hoping. You're not anticipating. No, you feel like you're going to go do it. Why? Because I've done it before. I beat them. I beat them and I beat them. And we were doing this, and this is how we got to do it now. Just knowing that by itself isn't enough for us to get it done. We actually have to go do it. But at the very least, there's a lot of value in knowing that there's something that you have to do. And I think having done it before really helps you understand the fact that you can get it done. I want you to check out Locked On Sports Today, a wonderful, great podcast on the Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcast. It is the local experts from around the Locked On Podcast Network. The biggest stories, if it happens in Jacksonville, I'll be there like I was last week. If it happens somewhere else, somebody else will be there. In fact, I was there Monday. Peter Pekowski does a real good job of finding and hitting all the hits from around the country, and he uses local experts like me to tell the story. So check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, on the Odyssey app and on YouTube as well. We're going to talk about why I personally believe that this game is going to be one of the most entertaining games you will see this season. There's been a few words exchanged. One or two words in particular that I kind of want to talk about and I want to address a little bit. I'll do that here in the third and final segment of Locked On Jaguars. This episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is releasing a slate of football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love. Think Like a Champion now wherever you get your podcast. Now listen, I love podcasts, especially when guys who played the game can take us behind the veil a little bit and give us a very, very unique way of viewing what they saw when they played. Now, Think Like a Champion is a brand new podcast from Russell Wilson and Audible. Russ is a champion on the field, but off it, we rarely know the grind on the path to greatness. Russell Wilson, alongside co-host Harry Wilson and the late Trevor Moawad, digs into how high-performance athletes, artists, and leaders push the boundaries of their potential. They ain't called me about that. I can push the boundaries of my potential. No, I'm just kidding. This is wonderful. Each episode features interviews with Olympic medalists, NFL stars, and business leaders. Hosts will swap stories and share proven mental techniques that have gotten the world's most elite performers across the finish line and beyond. Here's what you do, man. Make sure you go on the Audible app. That's right. Find Audible and make sure you check out the new podcast. Last week, there was one with Ryan Khalil. This week, it's with Russell Wilson. It's Think Like a Champion. Now, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you understand that with Audible, get in the game. All right, man. So some words. Let me tell you what those words are. And I know I'm going to be petty here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast. And thank you for making us your first listen here. We'll give you a little injury report information. I don't like using that word, but it is what it is. I don't like using injury and I don't like using fumble. You guys know that. So for the Jaguars, Travis Etienne with a foot. I always say with or whatever. I know he has a foot. He has two. But with a foot, he was limited. He's questionable for the game. I heard he's a full go. He's going to play, so there's that. Zay Jones, chest. That's because his heart don't pump no Kool-Aid, right? He was limited. It's questionable. Andre Cisco, the shoulder, limited, questionable. Roy Robertson-Harris, he was a full go. There is no designation. Darrell Henderson had an illness. He's also questionable. For the Detroit Lions, Evan Brown, the guard center's ankle, he's out. Julian Okwara, the linebacker, is out with an elbow. Everyone else that's listed on here, I'm not going to go through them because they're all there. One to keep an eye on is Jeffrey Okudah, who was in a little bit of a concussion protocol. And I got to keep an eye on that, along with Penei Sewell, who had a little bit of an ankle. But they don't have a designation, and they are full. So Aiden Hutchinson had some words to say And we've given Aiden some credit for being better than we thought he was going to be. And he's played extremely well. And probably if the Rookie of the Year voting was today or tomorrow, he finished second behind probably either Tyreek Woolen or second or third behind Tariq Woolen or Sauce Gardner. That being said, most people believe, and I'm not going to, change people's opinion, they believe he's outplayed Trayvon Walker, who was picked one pick in front of him, of course, by your Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be a good side-by-side measuring stick this Sunday. But Aiden Hutchinson says he'll never forget the fact that the Jaguars passed him up. Well, we have forgotten. We don't care. Ain't nobody around here mad that this is a news flash for everybody. All right. People can talk what they want to talk, and I know folks are going to root for who they want to root for. And y'all know how I felt about Trayvon. I said I would have taken him ahead of Aiden Hutchinson too. But the record also reflects that I said that I would have taken either Kayvon Thibodeau or Evan Neal. That's just, I'm not going to back down. Y'all got receipts. Y'all know that. But I started to fall for the Trayvon Walker. I understood the thinking behind it, and I still do. And it does not surprise me. And this is the part that kills me. Nothing has happened that we did not expect. Nothing. Aiden Hutchinson has more sacks than Trayvon Walker. We all knew that was going to happen. In fact, if Trayvon had more sacks than Aiden Hutchinson, then Trent Baalke and everybody else would probably be prematurely looked at as a genius, because after 1 year, you can't tell anything. I know who has more tackles. I know who's probably been more physical. I know who gets doubled a whole lot. So let's see. I want a side-by-side comparison, and I want and granted, one guy ain't gonna be blocking the other, but motivate yourself, young king. I don't mind it, and I like the chippiness in the conversation. I like all of that stuff. I bet you my money, and I've been known to make a wager. Trayvon Walker is going to have a game this week. Trust me. I think he heard it. I think the Jaguars folks heard it. I think somebody might have gave him that look and that wink. I think he is going to have a marvelous game one way or another and be very, very disruptive this week. This is what I recall, and I know it's college, but I remember they showed a video of the Michigan offensive line walking in, and they were the offensive line of the year, walking into the bowl. I guess it was the Sugar Bowl last year for the national championship. And they said, look at him, the most intimidating or whatever. And a former NFL player who was also a Georgia alumni said, intimidate what? And then the game started. No, it wasn't. It was an Orange Bowl. That's where they played. And Georgia beat the living snot out of Michigan, and they wrecked the offensive line. And Trayvon Walker was banging heads all night on that offensive line. And Aiden Hutchinson made a couple of plays, but he couldn't get by Jamari Sawyer all night. So the thing is watch what you do when you start talking that mess, and then another guy has this little thing inside of him. One guy may chirp, and another guy's going to be quiet. Let's just see what happens this Sunday in Detroit. I think the Jaguars are going to win, but I think it's going to be a marvelously entertaining game because of little storylines like that. And then I think for the most part, they're a scrappy group with a scrappy coach, and they really do fight bare knuckles, man. It's like fight game with them. So it's going to be hard, but I think the Jaguars eventually will pull away because they got a better coach and a better quarterback. Y'all don't pull away from me here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast, because it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. There will be a postcast on Sunday immediately following the game. Make sure you tap in with your boy. I'll post the live link right before we go live. And hopefully what we'll be doing is celebrating a victory Sunday. Until then, you guys take care of each other. Have a very, very nice weekend, and we'll see you.